Hello there and welcome back my friends to another video. Today is an exciting day because I am finally ready to start planting up my big 4x2x2 shrimp tank. I have acquired some quite nice plants from different areas. I did an order with Aqua Essentials, which is actually a company that's really close to me, but they're not open at the moment for visitors for obvious reasons. I've got some Pogostomon Hellfree, I've got some Christmas moss, and I've also got some Bucephalandra. It was pretty hard to get hold of Bucephalandra. It's reasonably rare at the moment, but I managed to get some more off of eBay as well. So in total I'll have 4 different species. The plants have been sitting in these bags for 4 days, just chilling, and today is the day that we put them into the tank. I'm filling it with RO water, which I'm going to remineralise with shrimp minerals so that everything is perfect for them when they go into it. So here are the plants in a bit closer detail. We've got the Pogostomon there. Here we have the bulb for the Apongeton. It's quite small, but hopefully it will grow as it gets established. This is the Christmas moss, really nice amount. This was $4.99. And then we have the Bucephalandra. Really, I can't tell you which species these are. They're quite new in terms of being kept in aquariums. And when you buy them from eBay, you don't really get much of a description. Well, even this one here, which is grown by Tropica, it just says red, and they don't know the species. So I can't really give you the species of them. This one was called Godzilla Red. This one was called Green Wavy. And then this one was called Red. So I think actually these are probably the same species maybe, and these are different. So it's a bit difficult to get hold of and also ID, but apparently it's a really easy plant to keep. Grows very, very slowly, but has small demand in terms of nutrients and lighting. But the one reason I really wanted to get it is because it grows on things. It prefers to grow onto wood or onto rocks, a lot like Anubia or Java Fern does. And that's what I'm going to do with it. So I'm going to super glue it to some of these rocks, and then hopefully over a period of many months it will bush out and create a really big plant, really vibrant green. And what I'm going to do with the moss as well is I'm going to glue it like a little carpet throughout this rocky area, and that again will hopefully create a nice mat of moss, and it's going to look epic. The Pogostomon I'm going to put into the substrate, and that will hopefully as well create a nice carpet. So I'm not going to try and overcrowd it with lots of different species. I want it to be a little bit simple, not, you know, the most crowded planted tank you've ever seen, but simple but strong in terms of the plants that are in there. They're going to hopefully grow really well, create nice carpets, and you can appreciate the different plants rather than them all be really crowded together and you can't quite tell what's what. So before I put the plants in, what I need to do, or what I don't need to do it, but what I'm going to do is add this plant start from JBL Proscape. And what this does is it adds a bacteria into the substrates. So it's a bit like when you use live sand on a marine tank. This is a bacterial starter for the substrate. It makes the substrate live essentially from the start, rather than having to wait for it to cycle over many months. And what this does is it stops you getting blooms of the bacteria like cyanobacteria. So basically it will seed your substrate with live bacteria from the start. Another thing a live bacteria will do in your substrate is help the roots grow. So this is going to be a really key thing to do. I'm only going to put it in the areas where I'm going to plant the Pogostomon, because that's kind of the idea. The other plants in this tank won't really benefit from it. So it comes in these little packets. It's a bit like yeast because it's a dry powder. That's got your bacteria in there, and ideally what I would have done is put it in as I was putting the substrate in, but actually, to be fair, I forgot about it. So what I've done is I've scraped back a bit of the top substrate, and then what I'm going to do is just sprinkle it in the areas where it needs to go. Now, you need to cover it up again, because that's how it works. It wants to get into the substrate. So I'm going to cover this up, and I'm just going to put it in the areas where the plants are going to go. So that's all seeded now with bacteria, and that's really going to help with the cycling of the tank. The next thing I'm going to do is put the Pogostomon in. So if you've ever tried to plant things like this with very small roots, into a substrate like this one, you'll probably know that as soon as you fill it with any good amount of water, the plants start to go towards the surface and are just floating about. Well, here's another really good invention by JBL, these plant pins. There's 12 per pack, and what they basically do is allow you to plant your carpeting plants using pins, and it just anchors it into the substrate, so you don't really have to worry about the plants floating away. And also it means that you can plant these plants when the tank is full of water, because that's the hardest way of planting a plant, is filling the tank first and then planting it. So this is what the pins look like. They're quite deep, quite big, and also they are see-through, so you're not going to see them very easily amongst your aquascape. So I've just put the root system through the pin basically, and then you just push it in, and that just anchors it, and you can just cover it up. Obviously, as the water starts to go through the substrate, the substrate will all sort of flatten down, and that will just hold it in place, because these plants do just float away sometimes, especially with this kind of root structure. It's so tiny, there really isn't many other ways of holding this in place other than wetting the substrate down and keeping them sort of immersed for a bit, allowing them to root into it, and then filling the tank. So that's the Pogostomon and the Apongeton in. To be fair, 2 pots of that's done a reasonable spread, and hopefully what's going to happen with these is it's just going to carpet very nicely over the areas. I've distributed them reasonably far apart from each other, reasonably equally as well, so we'll get a nice carpet in the future. The next thing I'm going to do is super glue the moss and the Bucephalandra in this area, and possibly one bit on that rock as well. So that's all the plants put in. I think actually it looks good already. Once it's grown in, this is going to look absolutely epic. Now, as far as I'm aware, all of these plants have been grown immersed, so outside of water, just in high humidity greenhouses. So what I'm going to do is, while it is filling up, I'm going to come up here periodically and just mist everything, make sure everything stays damp and doesn't dry out, because obviously if these dry out, it's not going to be very fun for the plants will die. So I need to keep them all humid. Okay, so it only took 2 days to fill, which was a little bit faster than I thought. All of the plants have survived with the misting and everything like that, and also I've managed to find some really nice wood to add into here, and some oak leaves as well, just to give it that kind of bottom of a lake kind of theme. I've just collected these from my garden. Oak is totally fine to put into an aquarium, well, at least the oak that I have around my house. Obviously this will break down long term, so I'm going to go out and collect some more, get a couple of bags worth, and then I'll have enough to put in here as the tank matures. Obviously shrimps will love leaves to graze on. Shrimps absolutely love it when they've got leaves like this to graze on, because it's basically a food source for them. They'll eat the bacteria that grows on the leaves as it breaks down, but they'll also eat the leaf matter itself, and also it'll add a bit of tannin to the water, so we may get a little bit of dark water going on here. I think this aquascape has evolved a little bit from what I initially thought. It's actually a little bit better than I initially planned. You can see the air filter at the back there, giving it a little bit of a volcano effect. That was kind of the plan with that one, and it is generating a little bit of current as well, which is nice. Just a gentle flow, nothing crazy. Most of the shrimp tanks that I've seen, the flow tends to be quite minor and quite mild, so that's what we're going for here. And the heater is hidden in the back there, so everything equipment wise is hidden behind this rockwork, so we can just focus on the aquascape and the livestock in it. The tank has gone a little bit cloudy, but that's to be expected, to be fair. It's a brand new setup. Basically now it's just a matter of waiting. I'm going to have to give this a good couple of weeks before I add anything to it. I'll probably just start adding a couple of shrimps in there just to see how they do in a few weeks' time. And it'll be pretty exciting to see how this tank matures. I'm very happy with it, and if you've enjoyed the video, please remember to leave a like below, or a dislike if you don't like it, and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed before. Once again, thanks for watching, and happy fish keeping!